morning and welcome to Coffee with a Kick. I'm Xander. He's Keegan. Wait, hold on. He's Keegan over there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And no, I think, hold on. I don't care anymore. And we're here to talk about really a pretty rambunctious weekend of EPL action, to be honest. I mean, it was a lot of results didn't go, well, they didn't go the way that you thought. I was fine, but but your picks were not quite as good.
Yeah. A lot of goals.
Lot of goals. If you took high goals, I took a plus 4.5 goals in the Brighton Hove Albion match. That one hit. Got to stop talking about bets, though. It's not a gambling podcast. But what do you say? What do we say we hop right into it here with my Wolves taking on Arsenal at Emirates Stadium. This one we both actually got right. You got it perfectly correct. You got a 2-1 exactly on the head.
I thought
I mean, the first goal there by Arsenal really was clinical. I thought they really unzipped the Wolves' defense is what I put here. A little bit unlucky with the deflection falling right in front of the Arsenal man there who put it in. But the second one was much more straightforward. Like, yeah, that they just pwned us on that. In the end, I thought the Wolves bounced back pretty well. Like they were still in the match throughout the whole thing. It took us till the 86th minute to get that Cunha shot in there. But yeah. it wasn't a bad showing for a side that's, definitively better than you are.
Yeah, I felt like Wolves, I think they let it get away from them. They didn't start too hot, obviously.
Definitely
they gave up, 2 goals in the first 13 minutes?
Yeah, 2 goals in the first 13 is how I mark it.
If they don't give up those 2 goals, I think they have a pretty good shot because they did play really well after that.
They did.
It could have gotten really bad, but they got that goal in the 86th, and there was kind of some hope. Obviously didn't get it done.
No.
You don't give up those 2 goals, a different game, I think.
It very well. I mean, we're missing our starting keeper, so that may have had a little bit to do with it. Mm-hmm. We still had Jose Sa in there. What was I talking about? No, we got subbed.
Missing Neto.
Yeah, we're missing Neto.
Obviously, he's been out for a while, so that's tough on your team.
We did have Jose Sa subbed out in the 23rd minute, so after all of our goals went in. So, I guess it didn't affect us too much. But yeah, it wasn't an unexpected result. It was nice that they didn't crumple after giving up those early goals. It was my takeaway. Mm-hmm. It's away at Emirates. Like, you'd feel good. You'd feel real good with the point, and it just didn't happen today. Yeah. But still not bad. Moving on to Burnley. No, not Burnley yet. Brighton. Brentford and Luton Town. Brentford and Luton Town. You had your hopes set high for Luton on this one, didn't you? They just did not come through for you. I got this one correct. 2-0 was my prediction, but it ended up 3-1 to Brentford there at G-Tech Community Stadium. This is the first time that I had seen Luton's third kit, which they didn't have debuted when we did our kit review at the beginning of the season. Yeah. It's decent. It's definitely better than their other two, in that dark, like kind of slate grayish blue color. But that was the best looking thing about Luton in this match, basically. Yeah. Oh, what? My notes are. My handwriting is so bad.
They were clinical. Their only shot on goal, they sunk in. But the issue was it came in the 76th minute.
Yeah.
And in reality, it didn't look like they didn't play as well as they have in the past few weeks. So
no.
Shame on me for thinking they could sustain that.
And it really, it was unlucky. They're lucky that it wasn't worse because the only thing that happened in the first half was Brentford possession and shots on goal, in shots in general. It was not. It never looked like Luton was in the match in the first half. And then we get into the second half, and Brentford finally score in the 49th minute. It ended up being a little bit lucky with the ball kind of falling right in front of the guy that ended up scoring.
Mopay.
Mopao. I don't know how you say his name exactly.
Mopao.
But they deserved to have that goal. And then they followed up in the 56th with Ben Mee getting assisted by Mbeya, which was, again, it was a little bit more luck with the defender with a header getting bounced around.
Yeah.
The 76th minute was more the 81st minute was a little bit more deserved with the Baptiste goal, but it never really looked like Luton was threatening in a way that was going to put it past. Even after the 76th, and they got a little bit more momentum that maybe they could push for a draw, it was trounced rather quickly. 6 minutes later.
Yeah, 3-1 Brentford, good for them, back in winning ways.
Yep, and we'll see.
Luton back to being a relegation side. There was a glimpse of hope, but it's gone now.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can carry that through as they visit Brighton next week for Brentford. Luton has to take on Arsenal. Not a good look for that. It's one of the most shocking matches of the weekend. A team that we often ridicule for their lack of offensive production in the final third. Burnley hosted Sheffield United, and I got to tell you, as good as Sheffield United has looked in the past couple of weeks, I mean, they haven't been outstanding by any means, but they didn't look as terrible as they did today. They didn't look like this is Burnley from the beginning. Not Burnley. This is Sheffield United from the beginning of the season when we're like, this team, I don't know if they'll get any points. And Burnley, it wasn't. They weren't fluky goals either. Like they were essentially what we've wanted Burnley to do for most of the season, which is just capitalize on their decent possession that they already accumulate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sheffield United from the gate, first minute goal for Burnley. It seemed like they were just caught off guard. Yeah. And you didn't really see them get comfortable really until halftime. Obviously, the red before half by Oli McBurney. That's a tough look.
Dude, but so dumb.
It didn't look like Sheffield was comfortable.
He had just elbowed a guy in the face like 6 minutes earlier. Elbowed another guy in the face, and the ref, you don't give him a choice. If you lead with an elbow into an aerial battle, you're gonna get a card. And he did it twice in 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, unfortunate as they say, but I mean Sheffield did not play terrible coming into the second half. I feel like they played pretty decent for the first 20 minutes. And then in 7 quick minutes, Burnley takes it from 2-0 to 5-0.
Yeah, and really they just, on the 73rd minute goal, the one by Mdouni, they kind of went to sleep there and didn't attack the ball on the shot across the face of goal. And then the last one there by Brownhill, that was a truly thundering strike there from the top of the box. Yeah. It was, I mean, there were some better goals later on this weekend, but that was a very good one. Going into it, you're like, oh, this might be like top of the weekend, but just wait till we get, There's a particular match later on Sunday that was, I mean, crazy. Truly, it was a crazy match. There were a couple of them, actually. There were a lot of crazy matches on Sunday. But yeah, Sheffield United, definitely a step backward here, obviously. And we will see if they can put things together. They got Liverpool on the other side in the midweek, and Burnley has my Wolves. So hopefully they don't carry that through that momentum. Yeah, and from Turf Moor we go to the City Ground, Nottingham Forest and Everton. This one was not great. It wasn't a great match.
This was like a classic Sean Dyche victory. Mm-hmm. When he was at Burnley, there were so many times where they'd win 1-0, 2-1. Even some of the draws were just like this match, just slogging it out, shooting a lot, but not necessarily quality shots. I thought Dwight McNeil's goal was decisive.
Yeah.
60, I felt like when he scored, that was it. I did not feel like Nottingham was going to come back.
Nottingham dodged the bullet there on the other side of the half on a Dwight McNeil shot. That got a very great clearance off of the line. Come back in the second half, can't stop him on that one with that with the off of the free kick action and the nice play there by McNeil.
McNeil is a classic. I mean, he was at Burnley with Sean Dyche. He gets transferred to Everton, and it seems like he's just Dyche's guy because he did not play well before he became the manager. Now all of a sudden, he's their go-to guy. So it's interesting to see how players just kind of love playing to a certain style and
just work in a certain system.
Yeah,
but it was unfortunate for Nottingham Forest. I mean, they're kind of floundering a little bit here in the middle, I think.
Yeah, what do you think of that? I mean, I feel like they were top 10 just a few weeks ago, and now it feels like they could be dipping into relegation.
They're pretty up and down. They start off a little bit. Let's see.
We both thought that they looked a lot more cohesive and mature this season, but
there's victories there at the early part of the season that look better. That looked better at the time, like beating Chelsea 1-0 was a good result. I mean, beating Sheffield United, you kind of needed to do that, and they looked good against Man U and Arsenal, not totally outmatched, but they kind of hit just a skid of draw against Luton, Brentford, and Crystal Palace, and then after the surprising 2-0 victory over Aston Villa, they've dropped their last 3 matches against West Ham, Brighton, and Everton. So they just, Everton really needed these points. So I think that they were trying to secure that more than anything. And Nottingham Forest just wasn't taking advantage of any of the opportunities that they're presented. We'll see if they can right themselves against Fulham in the midweek. I don't think that they will. I think that Fulham will carry through their impressive result, even though it was a loss here that we'll get to in just a second. It was still a gutsy loss, if you can call it that, against Liverpool. But we'll get to that in a second. First, we'll move on to Newcastle United hosting Manchester United, and really this one wasn't even close. Like I know I talked about how that Newcastle's finally found their form going back to the defensive. This is shocking that it was 1-0 because Newcastle saw so much of the ball and so much of the opportunities, especially in the first half. I mean, they had essentially all but one. Garnacho had a shot on goal in the first half. But other than that, it was all Newcastle in the first half. And Man U, I don't know how they held them out. It was mainly just luck.
Yeah, the key stat for me is 22 shots for Newcastle, only 4 on target.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest issue that I saw was I noticed, like you said, ton of possession, feeling like they have all the chances, but they just couldn't put it on target.
No.
So had they been putting it more on target, this probably could have been similar to that 8-0 game they played in earlier, because it really did feel like Man U was not up to stuff.
No, not at all. And then they never really challenged even. I mean, how many shots did they end up with on goal even Manchester United? One. It was probably that Garnacho shot in the first half. That was it. I mean, you can't. That's not good. Typically, I mean, my dad always said it when I was growing up. The team that takes the most shots typically is the one that wins, because you gotta hit shots at the goal in order to get them in there. And this one, like I said, saying 58-41. I don't know how that possession ended up like that. I think that Newcastle had significantly higher proportion of attacking possession. But yeah, I mean, good on Newcastle. It helps you, maintain some confidence going into both the midweek next weekend, and then next midweek when you have to go to the Champions League, maybe be able to get in through to knockout stages. But that's looking a little bit too forward for that. Well, they'll get to look forward to taking on, where are they? Everton in the midweek here coming up on, I think they're Thursday. Yeah, the early Thursday match. Definitely easier competition, I would say, than Manchester United. But that wraps up Saturday. Moving on to Sunday with the early match, Bournemouth and Aston Villa. What's your takeaways from this one here?
I did not feel like Aston Villa played as well as they could have.
No.
You know, the Semenyo goal in the 10th minute,
Ugh.
honestly don't think they should have given that one up.
Sloppy
They got it
giveaway.
back in the 20th. But then just before, I think it was around the 30th, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was in the 30th minute range, but they had a goal ruled out because of VAR. And that was annoying because, like I mentioned to you prior to our previous episode, I would have gotten all the money lines correct. Not a gambling podcast, but I would have gotten the money lines correct had that goal would have stood.
Yeah, I think
it felt like Aston Villa the roles were like switched. It felt like Bournemouth was the team that always had the front foot, and Aston Villa was always trying to get back at them, which is not how I pictured this game. I pictured it the other way around. So good on Bournemouth for establishing a little bit of authority in the game.
Not picture what it results. I wanted to see how Bournemouth's done recently. Great. Okay, never mind. That site's not very good to. Yeah, I think it was the 22nd minute that you're talking about. There was a good free kick right after their first goal with Leon Bailey, where it looked like it was going to be a big swing for Aston Villa, but instead they had a very tight offsides. Get called back on that goal. That might have been what you were talking about.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, good on Villa for sticking with it. That 90th minute, Ollie Watkins, really a fantastic header by Ollie Watkins on there. But it was enough to get the point. I mean, you would like to have 3, especially going into the midweek when you have to play City, where we'll get to City in a second. Yeah, it was a decent match. In Bournemouth, they continue to improve over the pushovers that they looked like at the beginning of the season. And then we'll move on to Chelsea and Brighton Hove Albion. In this match was frustrating for me. I thought it was frustrating. The Chelsea, that first goal was pretty nice from. How do you say that name? Badiashile, maybe? I don't know. He had a good overhead kick, strange cross to get the header there for Fernandes, but Brighton had left him totally unmarked there on that first one. And then, and the second one by Colwell. I mean, good on Brighton coming back, giving up 2 goals in the first half, and then you scrounge one in the 43rd to get yourself back in the match. But the penalty that they gave up was just a silly penalty to give up. And it never felt like Brighton was going to get back in the match. It was disappointing on Brighton's side.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed because to me it felt like they were the better team over the 90. They had more possession. They felt like they had more chances. Some of their shots were just kind of deflections right to the keeper. But I think that they'd be disappointed to go into Stamford Bridge and not at least get a point.
Yeah, especially this season.
They played pretty fluid. They played pretty well. They played like Brighton wants to play. Although they the penalty really psychologically, I think, set them back. Pedro's 90+2 goal. You could kind of feel like maybe, especially we're not even talking about the main point of this match, was that Chelsea got a red card in the first half, right at the end of the first half on a second yellow. And Brighton was only down 2-1 at that point. So to not convert, it's almost the opposite of it's very similar to some of the other Chelsea matches, only kind of inverted, where Chelsea didn't look as good when they had 11 against 10. Somehow that transferred over to Brighton, and Chelsea ended up sinking away with that penalty there. The most frustrating thing, though, was even after the 90+2, there was that the VAR review on the Brighton. The Brighton was attacking. They should have had a corner kick. But VAR reviewed the ball, one of the balls that was sent in because it was a possible handball, ended up just smacking off of the guy's face and going out. But it was a clear corner kick, and the VAR brings it back for a drop ball after the ball had gone out of play. And
Brighton would, they would have brought their keeper down. It was like the 90+8 or so, I think it was. Right at the end of the match. You don't want to be in that position. Similar to City, and the advantage not getting played. You shouldn't have had yourself in that position where you have to rely on the referees to get things right. Like to rely on a referee's call. You don't want to have to be in that position. You should be doing better than that, especially when you're up 10 men for a whole half. To not have to rely on a call by the refs to get you where you need to be. You're always risking it at that point. But then we'll move to the match of the weekend. Truly, Liverpool and Fulham. Oh, I haven't been. Let's see. We both got the Nottingham Forest Everton wrong. We both got Newcastle correct, and we both got this one wrong for Bournemouth and Villa. Oh, and then we both missed Chelsea and Brighton. We both said they would draw, and they didn't. They should have drawn, but Brighton didn't come through for us. And then for Liverpool and Fulham, which we both got right, we did not expect it to be a 7-goal thriller with just truly some incredible Liverpool goals. Time and again, Liverpool would. Whoa! I'm trying to pull up my. There we are. Yeah. That one they ended up calling that a own goal. I didn't see that at the time on Alexander Arnold's. His free kick there in the 20th minute for Alexander Arnold, I thought was just a good goal, but apparently it ended up being ruled an own goal. Now looking back on it, but every time that Liverpool gave them a truly solid punch because their goals were so good, Fulham bounced back. And Anthony Robinson's ball in there in the 24th minute, off that great build-up play, like very composed. Odd, like Fulham was very composed for the majority of this match. And that build-up play leading to the Anthony Robinson sliding through Harry Wilson was really nice. And then we get over to McAllister's goal. I think it was even better than the free kick. And now that I see that was an own goal, it definitely was, where he puts dip on the ball and drops it over the top to the upper nine and the far side of the post. Incredible goal. Not quite the Garnacho full bicycle kick, but still, like for run of the play, it was a great goal. And then Fulham Go ahead. After
the McAllister goal, I felt like, okay, this is where it gets away. This is where Liverpool start to pull away. And really the Tete goal, 45+3, that one shocked me. Fulham hit it back, and I'm thinking, all right, even though it's 2-2, Liverpool's going to do it. They're going to pull away. They had plenty of chances on the other side of the half. But, when Decordova-Reid scored in the 80th minute, I thought this might be it.
I thought so, too. Well, you just didn't think it would never have another twist in it. After, a half of them just really having some... They were definitely conscientious of the other team's attack at that point by it staying on until the 80th minute. It's very aggressive header there by Cordova-Reid, fighting over the top of two Liverpool defenders to get that ball in there. Great job on his part. But then, we come down there, and it is another great strike. This one by Indo, assisted by Mo Salah, and just not even, I don't know, maybe 50 seconds later, not quite a full minute, Alexander Arnold does end it. Like once Alexander Arnold scored, I didn't think there was anything left in the match. It did feel like it truly was done after that. But listen, if you guys didn't watch this in real time, I'd go back and watch it again. It was a great match. It was a great match with a lot of fun action and great strikes across the board. Unfortunate for Fulham.
I don't know what Fulham was doing, giving them the ball back so quickly. You're thinking, okay, hold some possession.
Yeah.
Maybe get it up to. They just gave it right back to them and just let them. They didn't even look like they wanted to play defense.
No, it was almost as though they'd given everything they had, and they were like, we can maybe pull this out. 87th minute, they get this big letdown, and they just they didn't mentally prepare themselves to continue on with the match, which only had didn't have a lot left in it at that point.
Yeah,
but disappointing for Fulham. Fine for Liverpool. I guess Jurgen Klopp's going to keep his job or whatever. But Ten Hag, he's on the hot seat. Obviously, he got. Whipped.
I mean, he probably should have been out before the season. He thinks his job is secure. I don't think so.
Well, we will move on from Liverpool to go to West Ham versus Crystal Palace. I think we both got this. Oh, I got this one right. I said it was going to be a draw. It ended up being a draw. Yeah, that first goal there it looked like this was going to be West Ham's day, I thought, for most of the match. That first goal that they had with Kudus and Kutal, it was that little layoff was just kind of shredded the Crystal Palace defense, and Kudus put it in rather handily with his, I think it was his right foot. But Crystal Palace, to their credit, kept themselves in it. They had a shot there in I think there was a 35th minute that almost went in, a free kick that deflected off the wall. But the goal for Edouard in the 53rd, just, you're doing fine. You're winning the match 1-0, and then you just have that atrocious giveaway. Terrible giveaway by your defense. And Crystal Palace equalizes with the Edouard goal. I thought it was a betrayal almost of the rest of the team with that giveaway.
Yeah, I mean, the game went as I expected besides the result. Seemed like neither team really wanted possession because they're not comfortable with it. Yeah. So, I don't know. It was kind of a boring match.
Yeah, and West Ham, they had that shot in the 46th minute that did go in, but it was disallowed for an offside where a guy in an offside position just flipped his foot at it. He didn't even touch it, but he was considered as being as affecting the goalkeeper is what it was, and I could see how you could call it that way. It was one of those things where if he just stands there, it's a goal. But because he made a motion at it, it disallowed it. And that would have changed the whole tenor of the match, obviously, going up 2-0 right after halftime. But yeah, it wasn't the best match of the weekend for sure. Didn't have a lot of notes on it. Which leads us to Man City and Tottenham, the nightcap for Sunday. Another one of these matches where City just doesn't get it done. Essentially, that's what it comes down. You guys keep being in position to beat the top teams, but only getting a point out of it. And it's not a great look. It was fun that that Heung-min scored twice within 3 minutes. Just one of them was for the wrong team. It was nice on his part to help you guys out there.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great strike. I mean, just off the thigh.
Right off the thigh. Never saw it coming.
Wonderful. Just, I mean, beats the keeper. The issue with this game was we hit the post.
Oh, 4 times. So many times.
Maybe even 5. But it was just, Haaland had a few that he skied or put wide. Yeah, it just didn't feel like we were clinical.
Yeah, 13th minute missed a big one there.
We just couldn't finish, and it probably should have been 8-3. We dominated Tottenham for most of the match, but they just finished 75% of their on-target shots, and we didn't.
Yeah, and the first goal that you gave up, Doku got caught out of position. I mean, he's not a defender, and Heung-min just kind of showed him the business essentially. But after that 31-minute goal, you guys just it was the classic tiki-taka goal where you just totally dismantle the defense with those crisp passes, and you think that you're going to put something together there at that point. But really, the story of it is 90 plus 4, where you don't get where they don't give you the advantage when Haaland. He gets fouled, for sure, but he gets up, he's still playing the ball, and plays it forward to Jack Grealish, who was, there was no one in front of him. He was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, essentially, and he calls it back well after the play had already gone through, it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, Haaland gets up. He's playing the advantage. Haaland passes it up. Grealish clearly in position to run at the goal. And he calls it back. And I'm like,
yeah.
He argued that he didn't see Grealish. So therefore, but then Haaland is like, well, why would I kick it that way?
Yeah.
It was the whole thing. But like you said, it should have been.
Shouldn't have had yourselves in that position.
That point,
yeah.
So it should have never been.
Ake should not have been beat on that header by Kulusevski. That's what it comes down to. Like, Ake should not have been beaten on that header. He had the position. Kulusevski just wanted it more. That's what it came down to. He just wanted it more. And Tottenham gets the point out of it.
Yeah, disappointing. How it always is when we play Tottenham. Guarantee it's going to be high scoring and disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does keep it tight up there at the top of the table. We've got 4 points separating the top four, with Tottenham not far out there at 27. The big match, of course, in the midweek will be City and Villa. Check out our episode here. Yeah, check out our episode here for that breakdown here before the matches start later today. Anything else you got on your noggin before we get out of here?
I mean, it's a lot tighter than I thought it would be. Like I said in the episode that came out yesterday, for some of these teams, it's going to be a dark winter. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be lots of games. Injuries are going to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we'll start to see a few teams, I think, creep up and creep down.
Yeah, I think Newcastle lost their starting goalkeeper because they needed another injury on their team.
Yeah, so the rumor is David De Gea may be replacing him.
Really?
They may be signing De Gea.
Wow.
That would be a pretty big signing for them because I think De Gea was always who Man U should have kept, but Ten Hag has got to assert his dominance a little bit, which that's clearly working.
Yeah, it's working very well for them. I mean, we say that, but what? I think they're in 8th. Are they in 8th right now? Hold on.
They're in 7th.
7th. Yeah.
With minus 1 goal difference.
That's the weird thing about it. Yeah. They're in 7th. They're 24 points. They're not even 10 points out of 1st. So you can see why he's still around. But, this match against Chelsea, I mean, they've got a big midweek too. They got Chelsea coming up here. So we'll see if either of them can do anything. I doubt it. All right. Yeah. But that is the weekend that was match day 15. Nope, that was 14. 15's coming up today. So after you go ahead and watch this episode and watch our preview episode, go ahead and grab your coffee, watch your soccer, and we'll see you on Thursday evening. Go far.